Is America being pushed toward a civil war? You feel it, don't you? That tightness in your chest when you scroll through the news. That sense that something fundamental has broken. You're not crazy, you're not paranoid. You're experiencing the early tremors of a system designed to fracture. They want you to think it's about left versus right, red versus blue. Your neighbor is the enemy. But here's what they're not telling you. Civil wars don't start because people disagree. They start because someone profits from the disagreement. Let's talk about the pattern. Every empire that has ever collapsed followed the same script. Rome, Weimar, Germany, Yugoslavia. The pattern is always identical. First, you hollow out the middle class. You make them work harder for less. You tell them it's their fault. Then you flood the system with confusion. 1,000 voices screaming 1,000 truths. Nobody knows what's real anymore. Then comes the final ingredient. You give them an enemy. Not the people who took their wealth. Not the systems that betrayed them. You give them each other. America is following this script word for word. Look at the economic hollowing. In 1970, a single income could buy a house, raise kids, take vacations. Today, 2 incomes can barely cover rent. The wealth didn't disappear. It moved upward. The middle class has been systematically extracted like a natural resource. But instead of talking about who extracted it, we're arguing about pronouns and flags. That's not an accident. That's strategy. The confusion layer is even more sophisticated now. We have more information than any civilization in history, and less clarity. Every event has 10 interpretations. Every fact has a counterfact. Your uncle believes one thing. Your coworker believes the opposite. Both have sources. Both have evidence. Both are certain. This is called epistemic chaos. It's a weapon. When people can't agree on basic reality, they can't organize against the systems that oppress them. And the enemy layer, it's everywhere. The media has split into 2 realities that don't even speak the same language. Political rallies that feel like religious revivals. Social media algorithms that feed you rage because rage keeps you scrolling. They've turned your neighbors into strangers, your family into opponents, your country into tribes. Here's the mechanism. Tension requires release. When you compress a population economically, confuse them informationally, and divide them tribally, the pressure builds. History shows us there are only 2 release valves: reform or conflict. And reform requires the people in power to give up power. How often does that happen peacefully? The system is not designed to fix itself. It's designed to extract until extraction is no longer possible. Then it manages the collapse. And managed collapse looks like controlled chaos. It looks like targeted protests and limited riots and strategic shortages. It looks like keeping you just angry enough to hate your neighbor, but just comfortable enough not to look up and see who's actually holding the strings. You're watching the pregame, the setup, the psychological conditioning. They're teaching you to see your fellow citizens as existential threats. They're normalizing the language of civil conflict. Secession, national divorce, irreconcilable differences. These aren't fringe ideas anymore. These are primetime talking points. When the language of war becomes casual, war becomes thinkable. And when war becomes thinkable, it becomes inevitable. But here's what breaks the script: awareness. The moment you see the pattern, you stop playing your assigned role. You stop hating on command. You start asking different questions. Not which side is right, but who benefits from us fighting. Not how do I win, but what game am I actually playing? The empire doesn't fear your anger. It manufactures your anger. What it fears is your clarity. So let me ask you something. When did you last have a real conversation with someone who disagrees with you? Not a debate, not a Facebook argument. A real conversation where you tried to understand why they see the world differently. I'm guessing it's been a while. That's the distance they've created. That's the weapon working. The truth is, most Americans want the same things: safety, dignity, a future for their kids, a system that doesn't feel rigged. But we've been taught to want these things against each other instead of together. That's the trick. That's the trap. Civil war is profitable. Reconstruction contracts, security spending, disaster capitalism. There are people positioned to win when you lose everything. They've done it before. In other countries, other crises, they know the playbook. They wrote it, and they're counting on you not reading it. That's why I keep a copy of Edward Bernays' Propaganda on my desk. Written in 1928, it's the manual they're using against you right now. Bernays literally invented public relations, mass persuasion, engineering consent. He called it the invisible government. Read it, and you'll see every technique being deployed today, every emotional trigger, every manufactured crisis. They're not hiding it, they're just betting you won't look. Link in the description. Because here's the thing, you can't fight what you can't see, and they've made the machinery invisible. They've got you fighting symptoms while the disease spreads. They've got you at each other's throats while they empty your pockets. The question isn't whether America is being pushed towards civil war. The question is whether you're going to keep pushing in the direction they want. Every empire collapses. That's not the question. The question is how it collapses. Does it tear itself apart in blind rage, or does it wake up long enough to see who's actually holding the knife? History is watching. Your kids are watching. The algorithm is watching. But the choice is still yours. Stop fighting the enemy they gave you. Start questioning the system that gave you the enemy. Stop consuming the narrative. Start analyzing it. Stop reacting. Start thinking. The script only works if you play along. And you can stop reading lines anytime you want. The future isn't written yet. But if you keep following their script, you already know how this story ends. We've seen it before. Burning cities. Broken families. A generation traumatized. And when the smoke clears, the same people are still in charge. Richer, more powerful, ready to do it all again. Unless you break the pattern, unless enough people see the game and refuse to play. That's the edge we're standing on right now. Not left versus right. Not chaos versus order. Awareness versus automation. Humanity versus the script. Choose carefully. The slide has already started. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and analytical purposes only. It explores historical patterns and psychological theories. It does not constitute financial, legal, or professional advice. Products mentioned may contain affiliate links,